Hello guys, and welcome to Around the Scene, presented to you by Playing with Rockets. I'm one of your hosts, PW Orion, and joining me today is Daddy Perino. You can thank Peach for that one. How you doing, man?
Oh boy, I'm doing great. Thank you, Ryan. Yes, Daddy Perino is in the house.
So this is you are officially our very first guest on the podcast. How do you feel?
I am nervous. I'm excited, and I'm glad that we have a couple of big things to talk about today. So, I think I got a good week to be the first guest. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a lot of good conversation. It's always nice getting that extra set of opinions and stuff. I mean, especially because Eldino always gives the wrong one.
Well, he's got to have that hill to die on. With
I mean, he has many he will die on. Guys, if you didn't know, this is episode 5 of Around the Scene. We're here every Wednesday for you to get your fix on all things Rocket League. If you like this, please consider giving us a follow or consider giving us a subscription here on Twitch. It would greatly benefit us here for the podcast and for our weekly tournaments that we do called the Launchpad. Consider kicking us a buck over on our Patreon as well. That's patreon.com/playingwithrockets. We thank you for joining us. We encourage you to discuss and a lot of good stuff in chat. But we are going to be ignoring you because we want to make a polished podcast for those who are going to be watching or listening later on YouTube. And SoundCloud right now is a bit of a mess up thing. We're going to have to fix that later. And then we're also looking to bring it to other platforms like Spotify and iTunes. So keep a lookout for those. Shout out to our Patreon sponsors for the month of May, Father of Five and Jonesy. We thank you very much for your support. For today's news segment, we've got a whopping 5 items and my barking dogs in the background. So first bit of Rocket League news, FACEIT unveils plans for in-game Rocket League integration. I'm going to read you all a little bit. So, quote, after a few intense months of design, development, and testing, we're excited. Oh my gosh, hang on.
Got to make sure the dog's okay. It's very important.
Man,
Doggo needs some attention.
They are excited for whoever's walking down the sidewalk right now.
Oh boy.
Quote, after a few intense months of design, development, and testing, we're excited and humbled to bring a brand new and advanced integration to our platform for Rocket League. Over the past months, we've worked closely with Psyonix to provide the Rocket League community with an opportunity to create, manage, and play competitions via a smooth and seamless experience on FACEIT and in the game. Starting today, a new in-game integration with Rocket League will be available on the FACEIT platform in closed beta for 2 weeks. During this period, we will be hosting a range of competitions to collect feedback from the community and make any necessary final adjustments to the experience, end quote. That is from the FACEIT blog post. You are a part of the closed beta, am I wrong?
So there's an interesting story to that. So, well, I got the email, right? So I got the initial email because I've played on FACEIT for Rocket League in the past, but again, very long time ago, and it wasn't that frequently. But I tried to get in, and it's been having a lot of issues. Like, apparently the referral codes for the closed invite are kind of bugging out with them. They've been having some consistency issues there. I've tried to get in. I'm hoping that I can get in by tomorrow.
Okay.
But just in terms of the announcement, wow, is this big. I mean, this is really, really, really cool. And so for anyone who might not know, FACEIT is a, how do I even explain it? It's a alternate competitive matchmaking system, I would say. They are mostly popular for Counter-Strike, so anyone familiar with Counter-Strike will know what FACEIT is. But they provide pickup games or pugs, and they also provide like competitive ladders and tournaments, so you can just hop into a queue and you can basically play an alternative matchmaking system to ranked. Think like the same way we have Rocket League ranked or six mans.
So like alternate how like six mans is. It's just like it's another way of queuing up, but not exactly through Rocket League for that one. But this one is just like a separate ranking system within Rocket League, basically.
Correct. And we haven't really seen anything specific on what they're going to offer in terms of actually what their matchmaking system is going to be.
Yeah, we were talking about that, and it seems like they have an idea of what they want, but again, that's part of what like the closed beta seems like it's for, is to help kind of sort where they're trying to take this. I like it. I like the idea of it. I again like you know more about this than I do, but for what I've heard, I'm excited for it as a tournament organizer.
Yes, and so I think actually what's interesting is that because Psyonix launched their own tournaments mode. It was around this time last year, I think,
Yeah,
and
actually, you're right. Yeah, it was about the
and
same.
it's kind of bricked out since because I
It's
mean, quite
kind of
frankly,
worthless, to be
it's
honest.
essentially worthless. And so I think now perhaps with this announcement we are seeing why they didn't really address the issues with tournaments mode, because if they knew that this was in the cards, then it makes more sense to.
Yeah, I mean, like you and me were talking, and I kind of agree with you. I think this helps establish why they were kind of like whatever about tournaments in some cases. Like for the longest time, you couldn't spectate. You could create a tournament, and then you couldn't
Right.
spectate, which sucked. And so now this helps make a lot more sense of it, because like in tournaments mode, it's that thing of you can basically just do ones unless you've got friends to play with, because you can't solo
Right.
queue the tournaments, which I think that was a misstep when they made it, but it makes more sense now about why they didn't bother.
Yes, and again, for anyone familiar with the FACEIT platform, you'll know that it's, at least in my opinion, for Counter Strike anyway, from what I've played on it, I really enjoy it personally because again, you can queue up with friends, you can queue as a solo, you can do tournaments, you can just do pickup games or pugs. If they bring all of that, if they just like one for one how it works with Counter Strike, and they bring that to Rocket League, or even you have like a pro circuit at the top.
Yeah.
So like again, I'll for those who may not know, for Counter Strike, there's a separate FACEIT Pro League where
Huh.
it's mostly pro players on like the professional teams, but there are some amateur as well.
That's
That they have
interesting.
like this like league system, and you actually win money based on how many wins you get in the FACEIT Pro League. So it doesn't matter how well like your team's doing; it's you individually. If you play a ton of FACEIT games in FPL, you can win your own money. So if they did something with like that with Rocket League, think like rank S six mans, but
Yeah.
with with actual like prizes and
That
an
would be
actual official tournament.
that would be interesting. I think something like that would really boost the overall I guess competitive spirit of the community.
Well, and it would also be huge for people on Twitch too. So like a lot of like the pros, for example, because we don't really see teams or players individually streaming like scrims or anything like that for Rocket League.
Yeah, and that was something that I saw referenced a while back, like about the Garrett stream that happened recently for DreamHack, was like we don't get to see these pros in like true comms like ever, and so
Right, and
that's a
unless they're
cool
playing
thought
six
actually.
mans.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I mean this is, and again, the fact they have it integrated in game as well is going to be a huge step, provided that it works well. Which again, with most Psyonix rollouts, there's sometimes some bumps, but I think they
I'm
can make it work.
I'm wondering how it'll work, because this is not just Psyonix this time, but FACEIT coming in, and FACEIT has experience with this now, so they can bring that experience in and say, hey, this is how it's worked with the other games that we've implemented this into. Here's how we can do it here as well.
Right. So again, if it's done well out of the gates, I think that this is undeniably a great thing for the game. And I'm actually kind of surprised that we saw this too, because in the past, Psyonix hasn't been that open to working with other companies like directly in game.
Yeah.
Outside of finding like sponsors or whatever for the decals and the
Mm-hmm.
items and stuff.
Well,
So
FACEIT has also been like, they're not now, it's Gfinity, but FACEIT used to be the ones in charge of the OCE RLCS stuff. Gfinity took over that now, but so like Psyonix has worked with FACEIT, not in the same capacity, obviously, but they have worked with
right.
them before, so they are familiar with their stuff.
Yeah, and I just think that there's so much that FACEIT can do with this that it's going to be such a huge bump for the competitive scene to have this, because
Oh,
again, you're going to have
tremendously.
that you're gonna have this huge, and I mean, I'm not trying to understate it, this huge platform that Rocket League's gonna be fully integrated with. So I'm really excited.
Well,
I want to get into the beta so bad.
and the funny thing too is like it makes you kind of wonder like what's gonna happen with six mans, because this I imagine this is gonna replace it.
Yeah, I mean it'll have to, right? And especially
Because like the fact that it's
prizes.
in game and stuff, and yeah, like you said, it can offer prizes. Like, why would you stick with six mans anymore?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. You have to wonder if Six Fans is even aware of the development of this.
I'm sure
know.
they are. I'm sure they are. With how big they are in the scene, there's no way they're not aware.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. I imagine. Again, I guess I'll say it depends on how much FACEIT really does with this. Like if they really go crazy and they offer leagues, they offer tournaments, they offer like weekly tournaments or dailies, and if they really go all in on like pro leagues and stuff, like I could see it doing it.
Here, segue into this. This is another part of the blog post. Quote, for the players, during the closed beta, we'll be hosting a series of daily tournaments in Europe, North America, South America, and Oceania. For each of these regions, beginning today, we'll be hosting test tournaments with the below schedule. At 1800, they'll do Global Access Cup, which is for all skill levels. At 2000, they'll offer an amateur level cup, which is 1 to 5 FACEIT skill level. I guess after you play a couple of stuff with them, you get skill level. Not entirely sure how that works. And then at the same time, they'll also offer a medium level cup, which is a 6 to 8 FACEIT skill level. And at the same time, a high level cup for 9 to 10 FACEIT skill levels. And then again at 2200, they'll offer a global access cup, which is for all skill levels. So they're offering a lot of stuff. And the cool thing is it's not just limited to PC, it's for Xbox and PlayStation as well.
Right, which is why, again, we got to be so thankful that we have full cross-platform, because again, it is now fully open to anyone because we do have the full cross-platform. So that is, again, I think this is awesome for everyone, really, from the bottom to the top.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a huge boost to the community as a whole, and it's funny because this announcement comes right on the heels of the Epic Games buyout announcement.
Right.
So I think it goes to show that, again, Rocket League is still moving in the right direction. Epic bought him out, but guess what? We're still moving where we need to go, and I think that that's going to continue. As I said last week, I think it's going to continue moving in the right direction, and I think this FACEIT partnership is going to be huge. So,
absolutely.
I'm excited to see what it turns into. I mean, like we were saying, I think it's just gonna be a huge boost. I think it's gonna help people who are like in the bubble scene a lot, because it's gonna give them a chance to compete against only other high level people who also really want to make it to RLRS and RLCS one day.
Exactly. And again, for Counter-Strike, I know like specifically like one of the best ways to get into these like high level professional teams is to grind FACEIT, or in their case they have ESEA as well, but and get into those really high level, because you don't have to be on a competitive team to, if you're good enough individually, you can solo queue and move your way up. You don't have to.
And so many people hate, so many of these higher level people, they hate ranked, so this will be a great alternative for them.
And also on the flip side, though, again, you have to say it, that it might be bad for ranked, though, because now you're going to have all of these really high level players if they don't play ranked, right?
I think you'll still see them play ranked, because some of them because I'm assuming that this. Actually, I don't know. I wonder if FACEIT is going to limit it to like 3v3s only, or if they'll offer it for other game modes.
That is a great question. I didn't even think of that before you said it. And
yeah, like that just occurred to me because like you have people like Cooksier and Kronovi lately who have been grinding out 1v1s, trying to run up in that ladder. And so if they don't have the option to do that through FACEIT, I imagine they'll still be doing it in ranked. I mean, you're still gonna have people like Flakes and Fairy Peak and Scrub doing like the 1v1 ranked ladder at least.
Oh, certainly. But again, for 3v3 though, if people are turned off by it now, if these pros aren't playing it now, when this fully comes out, I mean, in the short term you'll see the drop, but long term, I think they're just, it's the same thing with Counter-Strike though. It's the same thing. None of the pros play global elite matchmaking because they're so much better than globals on average. It's the exact same thing.
Well,
so.
it's sort of like, and I thought about this before, but I would really like if Rocket League implemented a system kind of like League of Legends, how they have like that Masters, is it Masters League? Do you know?
That sounds right. Yes, I don't really.
It's like they have like Masters and Challengers League which are like both leagues outside of the regular ranked stuff for like the highest of the highest, like top 200 are in the Masters or whatever, and it's like you can only play like top 200 if I'm not mistaken when you're in that league. So I wish they would implement something like that, so that would help give some of these people incentive to grind out ranked a bit more. But I think FACEIT is a really good alternative to that.
And we can only cross our fingers. I doubt that this is going to be the case, but if FACEIT has their own servers, oh my goodness, please,
Man,
please FACEIT. If you have your own servers, I beg. The faster you can get out, the better.
It'll be quite interesting. We're gonna keep you guys posted as this kind of develops a bit more. Do you have anything else you want to add to before we hop off to the next thing?
Only last quick thing to bring up too is with the tournament organizers as well. It's a big boost for you guys.
Yeah, it is.
Because if you can use their platform to do tournaments,
we'll get a huge boost ourselves because we'll have so many more people who can play in it. And then bringing that broadcast that we do into it as well is going to help a lot, and people are going to be much more interested in playing. Because we also offer cash prizes, so it's like, why not,
Oh, exactly. And again, I think the big thing too is if you can then solo queue into these.
Oh man,
that's fundamentally changes the game. So
it really would. But so that's gonna do it for the FACEIT news. On to our next bit of news. The DreamHack tournament, where there was a vote on Twitter. We reported on this a little while back for you guys, but that has been reportedly canceled due to a lack of signups. The tournament link is no longer available for the event. However, this does not affect like Rocket, the other major DreamHack events scheduled for this year, such as DreamHack Dallas, Montreal, and I can't remember what the other one is. So those aren't affected. This was like a bring your own PC console for the event deal. That just got canceled. So a bit odd because we didn't win that poll.
Right.
And then they still decide, like, CSGO or Siege or whoever else was doing it, I think it was CSGO. They won, and then DreamHack was like, yeah, but we want to do Rocket League. And it was like such a slap in the face to these guys that for it to turn back around and be like, okay, not enough Rocket people actually we're going to sign up to do this anyway. I think that's, if you're gonna do a poll, follow through with it.
True. Was this the one that was gonna be in Spain? I think, or
this is France, DreamHack France.
Oh, in France. Okay.
Yeah, this was the tweet was from DreamHack France, and that's where they did the poll and stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. See, but that's interesting though, because I would think that there is enough of a scene that people would still be interested in going, but I don't know when this one was supposed to take place or anything. I didn't look too much into it beyond like the initial information on it. So I don't know when it was supposed to be held, but I almost wonder if like maybe it conflicted with something else that we would have had going on that would have affected people showing up. But also the fact that it was bring your own computer, hurts it a lot too, because you're not going to have people who want to carry their whole PC out unless it's a laptop. Right, and so then you immediately turn away any of the NA teams too, right? Because no one's gonna want to, I mean, unless you're like a huge org like and you happen to have the time, like,
Yeah,
why would you
if
want
it's
to?
bring your own computer, there's no way that
Right.
it's gonna be there's gonna be enough prize money involved to justify it for them. I mean,
Right.
they won't do online tournaments unless they're like 1,000. So I
Exactly.
doubt they'd make a whole trip just for this when there's no real reason to it. It's not gonna get broadcast or anything. Like it's not important for them.
Well, and especially because there are so many other DreamHack events already, right? Like, we have
Yeah, there's a lot.
we have 3 or 4 this year. I'm fairly certain.
We had 4 total this year. We've already done one with the where was it at? Leipzig?
Yes, DreamHack Leipzig. Yes, because that was the one that Dignitas took down, right?
Dignitas, yeah, Dignitas won
Yes.
that.
Yes.
It was Leipzig though. For some reason, I didn't think it was Leipzig.
You're asking the wrong person. I can't remember off the top of my head. I know
it was somewhere in Europe. That happened though.
Listen, we're 2 Americans. It's somewhere across the pond, okay?
Somewhere over there. But there are 3 more. I know there's Dallas and then Montreal and then there's one more. I can't remember where it is though. It's another EU one. I'm not entirely sure what one it is. But so those are still happening. Those aren't affected by this decision.
And those are still going to be amazing tournaments. So.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for the DreamHack Dallas one. I'm so sad I can't go. It's in Texas. It's like I can drive. This is one of the few tournaments I can drive to, and I can't make that weekend, unfortunately.
I'm just really lucky that I get to go to RLCS this season.
I can't go to that either, unfortunately.
I'm right there. So
man, you're so lucky.
That's all I wanted. So
buy a hat for me. I like hats.
You want a hat? I can get you a hat.
I like hats. Buy me a hat.
Okay, I got you.
I'll give you information later.
All right, sounds good. Hit me the DMs.
Yeah. Do you got anything else you want to add to this one? This one wasn't like crazy important, but it was one that it was like this hat. I wanted to talk about just because of the fact that like they gave us the win on it, despite the fact that we didn't win.
Yeah, and then no one signed up. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but
follow your Twitter polls, people.
Yeah, follow through on your word in general.
Oh yeah, that's the more
life
you know
lesson.
deal right there. Yeah.
Moving
on to the next bit of news. This one is a bit of a doozy. All 3 members of NRG received a player accolade for North America. So what that means is each of them were the number 1 statistically for all 3 of the areas: assists, saves, and goals. So the order is Justin got the Savior of the Season accolade, Fireburner got the Clutch Playmaker accolade, and then Garrett G got the Golden Striker accolade. That is wild. That one team took all $3,000 on that.
And that each player...
Yeah, not that it was...
Nobody doubled up.
Yeah, and like for a while there, it was looking like Justin was going to like triple up almost.
Right. So, I mean, it's a testament to how dominant NRG have been this season in North America. I mean,
yeah,
they're always so good in league play. I mean, they always are, but this season in particular, they have just...
That's what I was going to say is this season especially, they have been crazy. Last season, they had several 3-2 games where they pulled reverse sweeps. I think they had like 2 or 3. It was wild. This season, all of their games have been a clean 3-0 sweep or 3-1 sweep. There was only one game where it went all the way to the 5th game, and it was their final game, their final series against Rogue. That was the only one that went to all 5 games for them.
Yeah, so again, I'm just looking at Wikipedia right now. So 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, 3-0, 3-0, 3-2. I mean, it's just like clockwork with them. And
yeah. Well, and the fact that they also did it not only like the fact that they did it against Cloud9 and G2, like they were that dominant over them.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, as a personal NRG fanboy, I'll say that
same.
I love that team because they're so good, is what it is. It's really what it is. They're just so unbelievably talented across the board and across all 3 players. I know a lot of people don't perhaps appreciate like Fireburner as much as the other 2 because Garrett and Justin are nuts.
I mean, they're killers, but like at the same time, like the one thing I can say I love most about Fireburner is he's that subtle background player that's like he makes a lot of great plays for this team for them to get those goals and get the proper saves. But he's just not as flashy as they are.
The big burner, dude.
He's gonna burn you.
But yeah, I was also kind of surprised too, actually, at which player got which.
Yeah, that shocked me
accolade.
too. I thought of all the people, I thought it was gonna be Fireburner who got Savior of the Season.
Yeah, and then Justin and Garrett on assistant striker. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought for sure Justin was gonna get striker because like we had so many memes made about him that like
Right.
because of how many goals and stuff he scored throughout the season. I remember I saw one. It was Thanos from Avengers, and it said Justin when he has the ball. Reality can be whatever I want it to be.
Yes, he's an extremely dynamic player. I mean, him and Garrett both.
Yeah.
That's
But
like I love that old. I think it was there's an old Garrett clip. It got huge on Reddit. Because like Alpha was playing against Garrett like in ranked.
Yeah.
It was like Garrett Squishy and someone else just like messing around in ranked. I wish I could find it because now I'm gonna reference it. And I'm not gonna be able to pull it right up, but it's just this great.
We'll
clip
try to
of,
find it and link in the show notes.
But it's just this great clip of like it because Alpha's a good player too, and he's like he doesn't have that, and then you see Garrett like coming through for the double. He's like, oh my god, he has it! and
Holy
just
crap,
throws
he's
it off.
actually that good.
He really is that good, yeah. So.
It's not all talk.
Yeah, and it's not just against ranked warriors too. It's against RLCS pros. So you got to give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, I mean they are such a dominant team, and like particularly this season, I find it interesting when you look across the board between North America and EU. I think Vitality can stand up to them. But really, aside from them, I don't see another team that can stand up to them if they continue the way they've been doing. Which, I mean, they were playing like this before, like in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were just going wild like this. And so it's one of those things that's just, I wonder, can anyone from EU stand up to them? Because I don't see anyone from North America doing it.
Right, and I think we've seen, of the big three, in terms of C9 and G2, I don't think either has the consistency to take down NRG
I don't
in a
think
best
so
of seven.
either.
I think anyone with their head screwed on straight would take NRG, in a best of seven against any of the NA teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially after the results we saw. I mean, Cloud9 and G2, 3-1, both games.
Right, and fairly convincingly in both. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they can do on land. I also wonder if how they're going to play the tournament for RLCS. I don't actually know the official name of it. Regional playoff. Sorry.
Yeah.
How they'll go about the regional playoff for.
I mean, with the way they've been playing, I see them taking first. I don't see.
Right?
I mean, because let me pull it up and take a look, but I don't see. So, I mean, they just have to win one. They have to win 2 series. Like, that's it. And they're first in the region. They get that number 1 seed going into the LAN. And it's like, okay, so in the bracket, it's Cloud9 versus Space Station Gaming for the upper bracket. Winner of that takes on G2. And then really, I see Cloud9 beating Space Station. And so then, realistically, it's between Space Station Gaming, Ghost Gaming, and Rogue. And you have to think NRG's just going to take any of those teams easy. I mean, they did handily. And then, really, their only opponent is G2 and Cloud9, which, like, again, they killed them in league play. So I just, like, the series score was 3-1, and, like, it wasn't like the Cloud9 Splice game where, like, that was 3-0, but all the games went to overtime. Like, NRG cleanly handled their games. Like, it wasn't even a threat to them. Like, I think Rogue might have been the only threat, but then in, like, the 5th game, like, NRG went wild on them and just killed it. Like, I think...
especially because Rogue is fighting for their... if NRG has first place lockdown, Rogue's just fighting to get a better spot in the
they were fighting to get
playoff.
top 4 so that they could be in that upper bracket for the qualifiers, which they're not now. But I mean, yeah. So for that series, it was like 2-1 for NRG, 1-3 for Rogue, 2-1 for NRG, 2-3 for Rogue, and then 5-1 in that game 5. Like suddenly they're like, oh, backs against the wall, we got this, and they just shut it down. It's just wild. And that was the only close series they had.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and again, it's just a testament to how good they've been. But like we see with so many teams, but once you get on LAN, it all, anybody can take anyone. So again, as a fan, as an admitted fan, I'll say, I hope they really carry their momentum through and they, go on to Worlds and they absolutely dominate. But
yeah, I'm hoping so. Well, with the new LAN setup, I think they've got a much better chance now.
Probably. But
I think with that group stage, that's going to benefit them more because that, I think, is more their way of playing, kind of doing that like league play style into a bracket. I think that's going to help them tremendously.
No question. And again, congratulations, of course, to those 3 members for their
NRG.
Their achievements this season.
Just killing it like the bosses they are. We're going to move on to the next bit of news now. Mummy Snow is reportedly retiring after this season of RLRS. He made a tweet, and it says, quote, "Was fun playing Rocket League for 2 years. It's time to wave." And he didn't really explain. You and me were talking about this. We looked all over before the cast.
Yeah.
But it didn't look like there was any clear-cut reason as to why he was leaving. He just was like, I'm done. I'm out. And I think what's surprising, and you and me talked about this, was he's on the Vikings in the European RLRS, and they aren't... I mean, they have a chance to be kicked out of RLRS, but I mean, if they win their one game against Complexity, then they can't be.
Right. So it's an interesting spot. I mean, players move on for all sorts of different reasons. There's usually no typically one set in stone reason as to why someone decides to, discontinue competing, but yeah, it's a little bit strange, I think, to hear it before the season ends. I think that was what was surprising to me the most.
Yeah.
We don't typically see that in esports. It's usually more with, I would say regular athletes, but like
traditional sports though, some of the athletes will come out and they'll be like, "Hey, this is my last season." And typically you look at those athletes, you're like, okay, you had a lot of injuries or you're just getting old. That happens.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's understandable then when they can say oh, this is going to be my last season. And typically they'll say it closer to the playoffs and stuff, kind of like what he did here. But his is odd because I don't think that they, if they win their game, they're good for RLRS still in that season. He doesn't have to leave. They can still participate in RLRS. If they lose it, then I can understand him putting out this tweet. But the fact that he put it out beforehand is do you know you're gonna lose already? What's going on here?
Yeah, and perhaps again, it could be team chemistry issues. It could be simply that he feels that he can't put the time in. There's really no. I mean, he might say eventually. Again, the reasons can be literally anything, but yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of an odd one, but
yeah, it didn't make much sense reading it.
Yeah, and again, I was looking at the Twitter, and it's just I don't get it. But hey, if someone of you needs a player, I'll move over to you. Listen, if the Vikings need a third, hit me up.
I'll move to EU. I'll do this.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Hey. If they stay up and they, looking for third, let me know.
So, Vikings, if you're listening right now, Maestro and Pondex, just know that you got a player right here in Perino. He's been part of CRL, so he hit him up, man.
Season 9 and 10 GC. Very important.
Yeah, hit him up, man. He's a free agent. He's looking to play. I think he'll fill in that role nicely.
Yeah. I'm sure I wouldn't get absolutely destroyed by RLRS. But nope, that wouldn't happen to me.
uh, you got anything else you want to add to this one?
Um, Not really. I think we should move on to the next piece that we got here.
All right, and this one, we'll try to dive into a little bit more. The Brit. So this is the next piece of news. The Bricks, Mouse Esports, Splice, and Evil Geniuses are the 4 RLCS teams for EU and NA that are going to be going to the relegation promotion tournament. The Bricks consist of Cookseer, Miztic, and Speed. Mouse Esports consists of Alex161, Tigray, and Elot. Splice consists of Jay Wismont, Dude with the Nose, and Karma. Evil Geniuses consisting of Corrupted G, Classics, and Drippe. So we'll start with the Bricks. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so this is a team that parted ways with F3, and everyone thought, oh man, F3 is going to regret that one, right? They're going to regret leaving the scene and dropping this roster. And
I don't think they're regretting it too much looking at this.
And now here we are. So you have to really feel for Cookser, who's a fan favorite, who's been doing this for so long. Everyone loves Cookser. And, what's crazy to me about this one in particular with the Bricks, because didn't they take down
they won WSOE?
Yes.
They were recent LAN champions. Like, that's what I think is craziest, is they were off-season LAN champions. Like, they came out of that and people were like, oh damn, like this is gonna be one of the teams to beat.
Yeah, and it just didn't happen in league play, and especially when you consider that Dignitas is such a down year, that they couldn't stave off the relegation promotion tournament. Now, I don't know if they'll actually go down.
I'm not as convinced that they're gonna fall.
Yeah, and we don't know yet who they're gonna play, right?
Yeah, EU's still up in the air. They have the potential to play ARG, Complexity, or Xenomoon. That's all gonna pan out depending on how this final week of RLRS happens. So if you guys are interested, tune into that on Friday to find out who their opponent is gonna be.
Yeah, and again, I have a tough time seeing the Bricks dropping. I don't think they will, but I mean, they have to be concerned, right? Because obviously the results haven't been there.
You have to be. The only team I see, so looking at it, I see for the RLRS teams, for EU, I don't know about any of the others. Veloce Esports is making RLCS. Yes. I think they're getting promoted. They went 7-0. That team consisting of Flame, Freaky, and Niels Cook with Tylacto as the sub. They're making it. I have no doubt. You're coming off a 7-0 season with a plus 13 deficit. You've got a lot of momentum behind you. You're moving up.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly safe pick because they'll play Mouse Esports, correct?
They start playing Mouse Esports, yes.
Yeah, so
Mouse Esports, they're getting relegated. I have zero doubt in my mind. If they don't get relegated, like that'll be a huge shock.
Yeah, and that's another interesting case too with them, where I think it's such a unique roster in the sense that people had very wilding expectations for them. Like, I think there were some people that said, "Oh, this team can be really good," and there were a lot of people that said, "Oh, this team is not going to do well." And obviously, they haven't.
I think the team could have done well, but you got a glimpse, and I like referencing this because this is such a good example of team mentalities. We got a glimpse into what their mentality is this final week. They did the interview with Tigray. LeafX did the interview with Tigray. And I mentioned it last week, but I'm mentioning it again, or I mentioned it earlier, but I'm mentioning it again. When they were going up against FC Barcelona, they were asking Tigray, "What do you guys need to change?" And he's like, "Nothing at all. We're fine as we are." And I'm like, "You're clearly not. You're on the losing end of a season right now. You're clearly not in a good spot right now. Change something, anything. I don't care if you say we're putting on toppers for the final match. Change something." Yeah. To say that you don't need to change anything, that shows how misguided you are and how you just don't understand what situation you're in. And for the fact that that was his answer, I was like, good luck to you, buddy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see once we know the matchups for sure for EU. I
Yeah.
think.
Just between Mouse Esports and Veloce, I see that matchup going totally for Veloce.
Oh yeah. Veloce I think is going to come out on fire, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they'll cruise right through.
But
then we also have the NA side of it as well.
Yeah. So Splice, thoughts on them going to the relegation promotion tournament?
Yeah. So this I think for a lot of people is not a surprise.
For me, it's not.
For me, I don't think it is either. I think a lot of people had them in this spot when they moved up. A lot of hype around this team with, because they're a roster that has been, they stuck together for a long time. They missed RLRS in the opening season, right? And then stuck it out and, really, they took themselves all the way to RLCS. And you do have to give them credit because it's not easy.
No, I think that they pulled off a wild feat. I think they can be a very talented team. But again, I just don't know that they're RLCS caliber. They're not one of those, whenever I saw they got the #1 seed for RLRS the season that they were going into play-ins, I was just like, I don't know that I agree with that. And everyone was like, oh, they're for sure making it. And I was like, I mean, I guess, but I can't say I was still particularly impressed with them.
Yeah, and I think it's more on the RLCS stage where you see it, where they make the small mistakes, and at that level you just can't. You just can't. There's no short answer. I haven't watched a ton of Splice this season.
Same.
But I mean, I'm sure unfortunately they get memed on a lot because they'll miss shots that they probably should not. Again, for an RLCS team.
Yeah, for an RLCS team, some of the shots they would miss, it was kind of like,
really?
You gotta put those away. At that level, you should be putting those away. And I couldn't tell if it was nerves or what though for them.
Yeah, it just seemed like they kind of ran out of steam before the season started. When they came out of RLRS, they had a good run.
Yeah.
And
they had a great run. I mean, they went 7-0 for RLRS or 6-1.
So,
I was like, cool, y'all did a great job. I mean, you're starting to prove me wrong. That's great. Let me see how you do in RLCS. And they didn't live up to the expectations that I was expecting them to live up to for RLCS.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. I don't foresee them surviving the drop here. I do think they'll go back down.
Yeah, but I don't see them surviving either. Birds and the Bees and the Peeps are the two teams for North America that are going into that promotion tournament, and they look terrifying. If I were Splice, I would be scared out of my mind to play either of those teams.
I don't think Splice survives the two incoming teams. However, our next team on this list is a more interesting case.
Yeah, this one I equate to the Bricks in that I think that they survive the relegation promotion tournament.
Yes, so it is Evil Geniuses who did not make it through to the top 6. So with Corrupted G, Classics, and Drip A.
And the one that's interesting about this team is Drip A. He came across the world to join this team. And they're about to get relegated. He's been to every RLCS since he was eligible in OCE. And now he comes over here, and he's not even going to have a chance now to go to LAN.
Yeah, that's what's so wild. And especially with the hype of Drip A, just in general. I mean, outside of the fact that he moved to NA from OCE, I mean, as a player, just individually, everyone saw him, and they're like, oh, this dude is the next big thing. And then they just got caught in a bad spot, really.
Yeah.
When in seasons past, we've joked about there being a soft, top 4 with EG being number 4.
Yeah, that's what I always thought too. Is I always thought to myself, I was like big 3, and then I would think, okay, who would be the next one, and I was like EG.
It was and for the past 2 seasons, I would say it was EG, but yeah, they just really couldn't put it together this season, which I thought was kind of surprising because, this is the team that on paper you look at and you're like, that's a pretty solid team. You know, they make the roster move that everyone, you know, wanted to see. And they brought Drip in, and everyone's like, wow, this is amazing. And
Yeah.
then it just never seemed to materialize. But it's possible they just need more time. But
I kind of wonder if that might be the instance. I mean, so, but they've had so much time now. Like they've had a couple of months because
yeah,
he came over for WSOE, right?
right.
So like they've been around because WSOE was a while back, and it was just one of those things that it was like they can't seem to make any headway with this. And I'm just wondering, like, okay, looking at this team, who would I realistically replace?
Yeah, and it's hard to make.
And I'm just not sure who I would even say to that, really. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you look at them and you're like, it's hard to pick where the problem lies. Again, I'll admit to not having watched as many EG games. You know,
No, and I haven't either, so I can't say that I know for myself on, like, who is the problem in this team. And that might be one of those things where, like, I need to go back and watch. Um, I'm not sure, like, who is the problem. Or if maybe it is just an instance of, like, they're having the type of issues that we saw with, like, Renault Vitality. Of, like, a lot of double commits, a lot of miscommunication. Like, maybe that's happening. Who knows?
yeah. Again, I think we'll be interested to see whether or not they survive the drop. I think of the two North American teams that are, you know, in this relegation tournament, I think they have a better chance than Splice, certainly. But you know, it's a tough tournament to survive. You know,
Yeah.
there's so many emotions, there's so much pressure to stay up. You know, and the teams that are coming up, they want it so bad. It's hard for, and we've seen in the past, it's so hard for RLCS teams that are going down to survive the drop.
Well, and especially because it's like, and I've heard it put in the best way possible of, you go through a really bad season. You've lost too many games. You're going into this. You're going up against a team that has a lot of momentum behind them because they've won a lot of games. And so when you put a team that's lost a lot of games against a team that's won a lot of games, there's a lot of good vibes behind that team that's won more games. And naturally, they're going to take it, even if you are technically different skill levels. Like, that's just kind of how it goes. And so it's like, the Bricks, I think they survived their promotion relegation. Evil Geniuses, I think they survive it. I think it's going to be cut close for them, though. I think they're going to have to really fight to hold that spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be tough, and I think it's going to be must watch because we're you know, it's just a ton of pressure on these teams. So we'll see who makes it.
Yeah. So guys, that does it for the news segment. We're not going to do week 5 recap because we kind of did it with that.
You want to just shoot through it like real quick?
I mean, we can. So I'm just going to kind of run through them. We're not going to try and discuss them too much, so we can go discuss the other stuff that you were talking about before. Mm-hmm. So week 5 for NA, match 1, Space Station Gaming versus Splice. Space Station Gaming won that 3-2. Match number 2 was Cloud9 versus NRG. Cloud9 lost that 3-0. Am I mistaken? 3-1. Did I read that right? No, 3-1. 3-1. I just mistyped. It was 3-1. And then match 3 was Space Station Gaming versus Rogue. This was a must-win for Rogue, and I'm so damn proud of my boys in Kronovi. Rogue pulled that win off 3-1, and that keeps them in the RLCS by winning that game. So kudos to them on that. Match number 4 was Ghost Gaming versus Evil Geniuses. Ghost Gaming won 3-1, and that is the match that put Evil Geniuses into the promotion relegation. Had Evil Geniuses won, Ghost Gaming would have been in that position instead. Match number 5, this was the match to secure NRG as an undefeated team for the season. That was NRG versus Rogue. The only series that went 3-2 for NRG. That was the only one where they went to the 5th game, as I mentioned before. And then the final game, this secured the second place position for North America. G2 Esports versus Cloud9. Cloud9 almost pulled off the reverse sweep, but got held back in Game 5 as G2 Esports took that victory and second place. And then moving over to EU, week number 5 for them, Mouse Esports versus Renault Vitality. Renault Vitality took that series 3-1, and that secured Renault Vitality as the number 1 seed. Then match number 2 was the Bricks versus TSM. The Bricks beat TSM 3-1. TSM had a bad weekend that week. Yeah. Like the final weekend was just their worst for them. Match number 3 was FC Barcelona versus Triple Trouble. FC Barcelona took that 3-1. And match number 4 was Dignitas versus TSM. Dignitas took that 3-1. Match number 5 was FC Barcelona versus PSG Esports. This was to decide who was the number 2 position to for sure go to LAN for EU. FC Barcelona took that victory 3-1 over PSG. Big story there for Bluey as he beats his former teammates to secure that position. And then Dignitas versus the Bricks was the final match there for EU. Dignitas pulled out the victory 3-1, and that was the match that put the Bricks into the promotion relegation tournament. So that concludes the Week 5 recap for NA and EU. If you guys want to look at that more, we'll have that in the show notes for y'all later on. And then going into the roster shuffle. There is no roster news today, so that concludes the roster shuffle. Moving into viewer mail, there is no viewer mail, so we're just going to kind of freeball this segment, man. And you and me kind of came up with an idea to talk about, and it was the new player experience for people coming into Rocket League and how different it is from what it used to be. Because how long have you been playing? How did you pick up the game back when it first kind of came out, or when did you pick it up?
So this is actually going to be kind of funny for some people. I didn't pick it up until like the very, very end of season 2 in the competitive seasons.
Of RLCS?
Of the in-game season 2.
So ranked seasons.
Ranked season 2.
Okay, yeah, that's about the time I picked it up too.
Yeah, so I actually discovered it through. I don't know if you know who the Sidemen are on YouTube. They used to make like they're from the UK. They just do they do gaming videos. I was a big FIFA player, actually.
Oh, okay.
I would play FIFA on Xbox. I was a Division 1 FIFA player, actually. I'll give myself a little bit of credit. But,
God dang. Star player over here.
Right, yeah. But I actually discovered the game through the Sidemen, and I'm like, what's this? It looks awesome. And I played on Xbox, because I just had an Xbox One at the time, and I picked up at the end of Season 2. So,
okay.
I believe on my Xbox account I have the silver level Season 2 rewards.
Yeah, I have the silver level ones for that.
Yeah. People are like, oh, Season 3 GC. I couldn't even picture GC in Season 3. I never even broke out a diamond, I don't think, on Xbox.
I think I was stuck in gold that season.
Yeah.
I was still dreaming of platinum at the time.
Right? Something like that. Or it would have been Challenger, right? Back in the day when they had it different, it was...
I think Season 3 is when they implemented the change. Maybe.
Yeah.
It was Season 4 or Season 3 they implemented the change towards bronze.
Point is,
and all
it was a long time ago compared to where the game is today.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I actually had this thought, one, because we were talking about, of course, with Epic Games buying Psyonix, there's a large amount of people that want the game to go free to play, right? So that new players will have the ability to just pick up the game and just try it out.
And that's my hope. I hope that they make that decision because Fortnite blew up mainly because it was free to play. And I think if they can do that with Rocket League, oh man, you take away that $20 barrier of entry for people, they're going to jump on it like hotcakes. So,
and again, what wanted me to bring this up was because I have a couple of friends who own the game. Right, they play it on Xbox, but they don't put the time. They're not good. I mean, quite simply, they're essentially new players. I mean,
they're just guys you play with for fun.
Yeah, and I'll say personally that again, I have my GC rewards from Season 9, and I will have them for Season 10. I've put on the low end. At the minimum, I've put in 1,900 hours. I would say personally. It's something like that. I know on Steam alone, I have close to 1,600. On Xbox, I don't know the number on Xbox, but I'm guessing it's another like 500. You know, so
Yeah.
I probably have over 2,000 total,
Damn.
and like right, so I was talking to this person about like starting up the game. And he was like, yeah, like I watched some of the RLCS, like I watched some of the guys on YouTube play it, and he goes, and it looks so easy, and then you play the game and it's so hard. But he was discouraged because he was like, I can't imagine, putting that kind of time in
Yeah.
and catching up to these people, because if you look at like the very top level, I mean, people are so far ahead of,
Well, and that's
the bottom, which is
but
natural. But
yeah, and that's the other thing too is like you look at it and it's like I genuinely think you shouldn't be discouraged because of something like that, because it's like that's true with any game. I mean, I can go look at Clash of Clans leaderboards and be like, I'm never gonna make that. Like,
But I think the biggest difference with Rocket League, and because that's the exact point that I made, right? I was like, well, with any game that's true. I mean, look at Counter-Strike, look at League of Legends, look at any
yeah,
popular
I mean, good
esport,
luck making it to the top of the leaderboard without sinking in significant hours.
right? So, and that's what I said, but they were like, well, the difference is that you don't really get a translation for skills into Rocket League. And I was thinking about that because they were like, I have like 1,400 hours in Call of Duty, right? That's what they were like. But what of those Call of Duty skills, other than getting used to a controller, is going to help me with Rocket League? And the answer is basically none, right? I mean,
Yeah, there is. That's the one thing I like about Rocket League, though, is nothing translates. Nothing whatsoever.
Nothing.
It's too unique in its own right for anything to translate over.
And I would say, again, I think my experience having played FIFA and having played sports in real life helped, but like other than that, it was just an uphill grind. And I just hope that for new players coming in, that they utilize the resources now that we have to get better, because there are so many things now, and this was what I was saying too. There are so many things now for new players to use to get better that were not around back then.
Oh yeah, like the training packs. Like I
Training
wish
packs.
to God I had those when I first started. Like
Or even the
I feel
YouTube
like I would
videos.
be a vastly different player had I had access to something like that.
Right, or even like the YouTube videos talking about like rotation for every game mode and
Yeah.
for different mechanics and things like that. Like you can actually see it. Pros put all this stuff out there. There's so much out there now that I think it's doable, but I can also see why people would get discouraged because it's so difficult and so many people are so good. Like if you get stomped on in this game, it's easy to get stomped on in Rocket League.
Yeah.
It can be like, ooh.
The thing I find interesting though is I think people can progress faster now than you used to be able to. The progression was so much slower when we first started. I mean, right now, if I played the way I do right now, back in RLCS season 1, I'd be a pro.
god.
I'd be a pro.
You'd be a god.
I'm awful at the game. And it's just one of those things of the skill ceiling has gotten so high. And like you were saying, there's so many resources available that it's just how you don't end up becoming extremely good in a short period of time. I think most people by 300 hours, you could be a GC. By coming in and playing and just doing the training packs and stuff, I think you could sink in 300, 500 hours and hit GC if you genuinely take in and genuinely are thinking about the game in a proper manner.
I
think you have to come in and be taking it extremely seriously though. I think you have to be making this your job.
A bit low. I don't think you could do it in 300. I genuinely don't think you could. Not for
Okay, maybe not GC, but you can hit champ.
I could see hitting champ 1 at 300 hours. I could see that. GC, I think even with everything, again, you're taking someone absolutely brand new to the game today. I still think that it's got to be closer to 700, 800 hours on the low end for someone who's brand new to get there. But that's just with my experience personally. I have sunk a lot of time into this game. So,
yeah. I think that it's just the deal of, I think that used to get to GC, you had to have a lot more hours. I think that the number of hours has dropped in corresponds to the number of resources available. 300, I think you're probably right, is a little too low. But I don't think you have to have 1,000.
I don't see. Again, it's tough for me to say because I can't like put myself in a new player's shoes. I mean, it'd be a wonderful thought.
I think it has to be one of those things that like you're coming in and like you're genuinely thinking through the game properly. I mean, kids. Okay, so someone our age probably can't. A kid definitely could. A kid definitely can.
Yeah, I could see like someone who just got like their PlayStation.
Like a kid definitely can, and I don't think it's because they have unlimited time, but I think it's just because their brain is a sponge. Like they adapt so quickly to things compared to people like us who are older. That I think that's part of why Scrub is so good, because Scrub's so young.
Yeah.
And some of the kids who are like killing it in our tournaments are like really young. They're like 13, 14, and they're destroying, and they're not SARP vets.
Right. I wish I had found this game when I was 14, 15 years old. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I remember there was like an old post like when I first made the Rocket League esports subreddit. It was like, do you think you can honestly go pro? And I was, again, for the record, like I'm 23. I'm a college graduate. I'm like, there's no way. There's just no way. I mean, I know that and I accept it. There is no way.
Like, for me, I have a better chance of becoming a caster than going pro.
Right? No, but for real. Like, you know, so like I have fully accepted that. And then there was one kid who put something in there. He goes, I might be able to do it. I don't know. I'm 13. I'm Grand Champ on PlayStation. I'm like, you're 13 Grand Champ on PlayStation? And you think you can't?
Oh, you know what I mean? You definitely can.
Like you
switch over to PC and you definitely can.
Switch to PC and grind for 2 years because you have to be 15 to play RLCS.
Oh yeah, he's got plenty of time to sink in hours and become extremely good at the game.
Think about how much free time you had as an 8th grader.
I had far too much free time.
Right.
I could be so much more successful today had I not wasted that time.
Yeah, you and me both. So, I do think there is an element of, for people who are young and they want to get into this, I think the possibility is there. But there's a lot of catching up to do if you want to grind to the top. Yeah. I think
for those of us who are older, I think it's you can't grasp the game quite as easily. I don't think you're going to adapt to the game as easily. I think a kid for sure, though, man. Like, you're talking 12 years old. Like, I think by the time you hit 1,000 hours, they'll be so adept at the game that, like, I think they could be very successful. I mean, granted, like we were saying, they also have that extreme amount of time until they're even of age to play professionally. So I think it's going to be interesting kind of seeing how that all develops.
Hopefully we get our free-to-play,
hopefully that happens, man. I think it's going to boost the scene tremendously. You got anything else you want to add before we close it out?
Not really. Again, I'm looking very much forward to seeing the FACEIT integration. I do think that's the biggest thing that we've gotten from today outside of the RLCS stuff. That it's going to be so good for the game. Thanks for having me on. I have enjoyed this a lot. It's been really good.
It was a pleasure having you on. Guys, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Once again, please consider following us here on Twitch and all that jazz. We'll be uploading this episode to YouTube. And for anyone who missed the live recording of this episode, you'll get that every episode moving forward as well. We'll be back on Monday with the Launchpad, which is our weekly 3v3 tournament for those of you who are new with us. And then last but not least, this has been Around the Scene, presented by Playing with Rockets. I'm Ryan. That's Perino. Perino, before we go, shameless plug, go.
So this week, for the next few days, I am casting for Play Versus, which is a high school Rocket League esports league. So we have different states competing all next week. Tomorrow we have Rhode Island's grand finals, and then we have different states all through the next week. I'll be casting those events. Make sure to tune in on Play Versus.
So that's twitch.tv/playversus. And where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitch at Perino. You can find me on Twitter at Perino TV. And if you go to my Twitch page, you can find my Discord where I like to hang out as well.
So guys, I'm Ryan. That's Perino, our very first guest for Around the Scene. And it has been our pleasure to have you with us. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good one, everyone.
Take care.